I don't know how long ago that was when you were there and what your goals were and the writing that transpired and the action that transpired.
Yeah, well, my blog and actually, myself have really evolved. I mean, everyone changes anyway, but, certainly over the last several years, as I said, I started as this sort of cathartic blogger that I was just trying to I was sick of tired of, yelling at the TV and just, so I wanted to yell out into a hurricane or something like that. I didn't expect I'd ever get any readers. It was really just, and so I at least have one person, maybe, a friend of mine or whatever would read it kind of thing.
Right.
But over time, as I was writing about the stuff, I was like, just saying this, my opinion or whatever is great, and that's an important part of the political process, but that's not enough to get what I want accomplished and what I think we need. And so I started thinking about that a lot more and writing more about resistance and how to affect change. And eventually I just quit my job and started doing activism things more, not full-time, and I do have to try to pay the bills and things like that, but as full-time as I could. And so, that was the West Bank and Gaza experience was 2009, actually. Erica was pregnant with our first child, Sam, and it was a big decision in the spring to think about whether I should even go or not. I'm going to be a father, and I'm going to go in harm's way, really, and I was in harm's way.
Right.
But we decided that was the last opportunity. I really had to do that kind of activism. I'd been doing other things down in D.C., engaging in a variety of different nonviolent tactics to try to affect change for peace and justice. Things like about the Iraq War and Afghanistan War and Guantanamo Bay and that sort of thing. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has always been pretty close to my heart as someone who had family who escaped pogroms from the pre-Soviet Union, 1913, but when it was still the Tsarist pogroms and stuff, and also people who were there during the Stalin era who were liquidated and whatever. I have a certain interest in peace in this area, as well as from a kind of geostrategic point of view. It makes sense for us to try to resolve some of those issues.
Right.
And I was also upset about the fact that $4 billion of our tax money go to killing people, but hardly anything goes to trying to help uplift people and out of rubble, literal rubble. We talked about it, and I had been supporting a lot of my friends in Code Pink and other organizations who had been going over there, and I was always like, oh, I'm never going to get a chance to go. But I had an opportunity, and Erica really is the one who convinced me, you really need to go now. You are not going to go when you have a son here, but let's do this. So I went in June of 2009 for 10 days with a number of my friends that I had known from activism. Similar sort of thing with the waves of people trying to go and deliver aid and so forth, like we saw with the flotilla last year. Some of my friends were in that flotilla, not on the ship where anyone was killed, fortunately. I mean, unfortunately for everybody else, obviously, but my friends came out of that okay. But we were trying to do waves upon wave of activists sort of delivering of aid and trying to bring focus to the issue of what are some of the insanity and the Orwellian kind of stuff and really Kafkaesque kind of stuff about what the the Israeli kind of control is over the Gazans in particular, but also the West Bank. So I went there. We tried to get into Gaza through Israel. It was the first attempt anyone had ever tried to go through the Erez crossing, as opposed to everyone would go through Rafah in Egypt.
Okay.
We were rebuffed, of course. We expected that. It's not that we were totally unrealistic, but we spent a few days there, then engaging in protest, solidarity protest with people literally on the other side who were in Gaza. And then we had backup plans to go to West Bank, and we joined with the citizens of the village of Belin, I guess the villagers of Belin, in their weekly Friday protest at the what we call the apartheid wall, the thing that separates them from other people, as well as their olive trees and their land that they've had, so separating them from their livelihood. And they've been doing that now for almost 6 years on a weekly basis after Friday prayers. And we joined with them, and I was tweeting basically from a spot right up against the wall where a guy had just died a few months earlier, being hit in the chest with a tear gas canister. His sister, who was just killed recently as well, in kind of the same area. So I wasn't afraid, but obviously you have to take precautions and stuff. But I was there, and then we started getting tear gassed, and ran through that, and tweeted a few minutes later, okay, I'm okay, it's okay, don't worry about it. My friends were all asking about this stuff, but I'm live tweeting from this, kind of nonviolent protest that, of course, always ends with casualties. So it was definitely, as much as I intellectually and emotionally prepared for that, even that was actually a fairly benign kind of intervention by the IDF that time compared to other times, but it was still, you know, it was but the reality of it is that these people deal with it every Friday and deal with the night incursions and all those kinds of things. And of course, on the other side are 18 and 19-year-old kids, you know, who are following orders and also believe, you know, because they've been told by their media and their culture that these people are bad, you know. So you can see the intractable problems right there every Friday, you know. And it was, yeah, from a personal standpoint, it was a good experience. Of course, obviously the whole thing is bad, and it wasn't about me really, you know, but I was trying to get people a flavor of what was going on with my photographs and my tweets and my blogs then.
Sure. Now, you described using Twitter, and that's an intense time. I wonder if just that felt like, I don't know, almost like, thinking of white to like an umbilical cord back to the U.S. and your sort of ability to stay connected and communicate in that kind of real time. Like, I'm okay, I'm okay. I mean, it strikes me as...
Well, I knew it was important for some of my family and friends who really were. I mean, I knew the realistic dangers. Actually, even just a few days before we had gone at one of their sister, actually, I guess a week before, one of their sister villages who engaged in the same thing in Nilin, someone had died as well. And I knew the dangers there, but I wasn't all that worried about it, but my friends and a lot of my family were all just like, oh, we're so scared for you, and so I wanted to help them, so that I would continue to have their, you know, support and their engagement, so they could help do all the things we need to do to try to get peace and justice wherever, there or here or whatever, you know, worldwide. So it was a very valuable tool just to let them know I'm okay. I still can't quite see very well or breathe very well, but I'm okay, you know, kind of thing.
Right.